Welcome to the Happy Imbecile. We're just happy to be here. I thought I'd do something different and just vlog, I guess. I guess that's what they call it. And talk about different topics while still having a game in the background. Anyways, there was a topic that I've been wanting to talk about for a while now, and that's what inspired me to shoot this video. And hopefully, there'll be many more kind of like this in this format where I'm talking about a topic while um, a tape game is playing in the background. The topic I wanted to talk about today has to do with a realization that I just had. This realization is me accepting and coming to terms with my personality versus the world that I live in. And the way this came about is something very routine, very mundane, and it just got me thinking, and I went down this rabbit hole. It was recently, I had a training at work, and it was on Zoom because I work from home. And the trainer said something that kind of, I was like, no. And it's something that I've heard before. However, it just really registered and resonated with me in a very negative way. Basically, she said, all right, there's going to be some exercises. You're going to break out into breakout rooms and it's going to be fun. And here are some activities that you're going to do. The operative word is it's going to be fun. And I remember just sitting there hearing that we're going into breakout rooms, and I just groaned. Why is that? Well, I am an introvert. And the concept of going into a separate room, whether it's virtual or real, with people I don't know to conduct exercises causes anxiety. It's not fun. It's not exciting. I know the trainer meant it to be that way, but that is totally what it's not. And that's when it hit me. I'm an introvert living in an extroverted world. What do I mean when I say that? Well, the world that we live in is geared towards extroverts. I say that in the sense that things are done in such a way that if you're extroverted, you can succeed. It'll be easier for you to succeed than somebody who's an introvert. And here's the interesting thing about all that is the way the world is, it's almost as if being an introvert is a disease or it's a sickness or it's a almost a mental illness. But it's not. It's just a different way that we recharge and that we see and view the world. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's a different way of communicating. It's a different way of interacting. Because contrary to what many people think, just because we're introverts does not mean we're not social. We are social as human beings. We are meant to be social. We're meant to be around other people. We cannot live in isolation. And that's just my opinion. It's not a normal thing to do, to isolate yourself from everybody. However, the impact is different. Whereas some people, they're at the end of an activity with a group of people, they are invigorated, they're happy, that's exactly what they needed. For many introverts, yes, we enjoy the time with special ones. We don't like, well, I'm speaking for myself. Don't like big groups. I like small, intimate groups, and I enjoy that time. However, even if it could be my best friend or family, once I get home, I'm drained. I just need that time to myself, and that is how I rejuvenate or gain energy. So it's just a question of the impact of being around other people. Now, if we go back to training, being thrown into a room of people I don't know, it's not that I don't like meeting new people, but it has to be in a way that is uncomfortable. I guess you can say, and if you're an introvert listening to this, I would love your opinion. Is it that you do not like meeting new people, or it has to be on your own terms? And I ask that question because for me, therein lies the problem. This is where we run into trouble. And this comes back to this world is built for extroverts. There's a few points I'm going to bring out. First one is this is the way extroverts treat introverts. So back to we want to meet new people, but it's on our own terms. Extroverts love to come crashing through those terms and tell you, no, that's not the way to do it. Come, we'll do it this way. And when you try to tell them, no, I'm not comfortable with that, that's not an acceptable answer. They will either goad you or put you in that position where now you feel uncomfortable. And you smile, you go with it, but really it's not what you wanted to do. And you just cannot wait to get out of there. At times, it will yield positive results. You will meet people that you're like, okay, yeah, that person's cool. I like them. When I'm talking about extroverts come crashing through that, it's not only that they put you in a situation that you don't want to be in, but often it will come with some sort of discourse where they will try to convince you that there's something wrong with you. The way you do things, the way you meet people, that's not normal. You need to get out of your shell. You need to, and there's always a need to, you need to do these things. Basically, you need to do things like I do them because the way you do them, that's not good for you. That's not a fair statement. It's not a question of it's not being good for you. It's a question of people do things differently. Sometimes I don't want to go out to a restaurant with 20 people and it's overwhelming. There's too much going on. If I want to speak to one person, I can't because there's just too much going on in the background. And invariably, when you're having that conversation with those one or two people, somebody else will jump in. My pet peeves is not being able to finish a sentence. And it's interesting because a lot of times you'll see it on like talk shows and TV shows. You can always tell arguments between an extrovert and an introvert because the extrovert will tend to try and talk over the introvert all the time. It gets very frustrating when you see a group of extroverts talking to each other, that they're talking over each other all the time, and you cannot follow. Well, I can't anyway. Maybe they can follow a thought to its completion. Like an idea will come, they'll start talking about it, and then somebody else will say something else, and then they'll go off over there, and then it just all over the place. Very annoying. The pandemic has really brought this concept into the forefront for me because being forced to stay at home and being able to work from home for the first time was absolutely mind blowing. Realized I was much more efficient working from home than I was when I worked in the office for many reasons. One of many is just no chit chat. You know, when you're at the office, you go to get your coffee and there's always that chit chat. For many of us introverts, we couldn't be bothered by that. It's one of the pet peeves of introverts because they actually appreciate meaningful conversation. So fluff and conversation that is just there just to say like the how was your day or how are you? And you're expected to say everything's great and that's the end of the conversation. That's just, yeah, we do it, we engage in it, but there's no meaning to it. It's just being polite. So when we go back to the work environment, that's where you really see a world built for extroverts. Because in order to succeed in a lot of work environments, not just succeed, but to move ahead or move up the corporate ladder, as it were, you need to exhibit extroverted traits. You can't just be that person sitting in your corner or in your office, door closed, doing your job well. And again, I'm not talking about not communicating with others. You can communicate, interchange, share thoughts, share ideas. It's what comes after that I find completely unnecessary under the guise of team building. So, doing activities after work, anything that involves doing stuff with coworkers outside of actual work time, work hours, can be a challenge because there's this concept of family. A lot of companies have spelled that. I don't know if they still do. I haven't heard it in a while, but that expression that we're a family, this team is a family. I understand the sentiment behind it, and it's a good one. Using the word family is important to me, so using that word, a better word would be community, because family has a sense of permanency to it. And as much as you may like your job and you may want to stay there forever, that permanency is not guaranteed. When things go down, that's what defines a family. Your family will have your back. If something should happen to me tomorrow and I'm in the hospital, I do not expect my coworkers to come visit me. If they do, great, but that's not who I expect to be there by my side for 10, 12 hours straight to tend to. But I would be there for my sister. I would be there for my cousins, my relatives, like my family, my best friends, and whom may not be blood related, but I consider family. Having each other's back at work, that's a different thing. So I think the word community would be much better served, but I'm really digressing from the point. There's a lot of situations when it comes to speaking, when it comes to interacting with others, when it comes to doing these extracurricular activities, etc. They're more geared toward extroverts. And it's not to say that an introvert cannot succeed in that environment, but you know what's happening is the introvert is pretending to be an extrovert in order to move ahead. I've never seen a situation where an extrovert is pretending to be an introvert to get ahead. A lot of companies, they'll try to use the word, talk about being inclusive to different types of personalities, different types of people, etc. One group of people that is often looked over, you guessed it, introverts. Most offices have an open concept, and we're moving away from a hybrid model. So we went from completely working from home to hybrid to a lot of companies now saying, no, we want everybody there 100%. We do perform better on our own. This is more of a question. Is there something wrong with having a job and wanting to just do your job and do it well without having to be good friends with everybody that you work with? Because it is frowned upon. That's the word I'm looking for. It seems that that kind of attitude, quote unquote, is frowned upon. And it's not an attitude, it's just part of people's personality. Once again, now people are being forced to be something they're not just to please a certain group of people. If you are an introvert and you work in a restaurant, that's just the nature of the job. There are some things that is just the nature of your job. This is what you have to do to interact with other people. That's not the type of jobs I'm talking about. And I'll be honest, is as an introvert, if that's the job you chose, you're just going to have to live with that. I'm talking about situations where there is a choice. And a lot of those environments is office jobs. Even doing customer service over the phones, you don't need to be at the office. In fact, it's even more frustrating because you have in a big call center, you have like 100 people around you talking and yapping, and it's just, and again, that open concept as opposed to, and here's a thought. I know most companies won't fly with this, but if you had an introvert, well, you most likely do, because I'm not sure what the percentage is. What percentage of the world, the population, the demographics are introverts? That's something, you know what, I'm going to look that up now. And you know what the saying is, it's true because Google said so. Here's some interesting thoughts. So, as I'm working on this video, just did a search to find out what percentage of the population in general are introverts. And I just learned something new. Introverts are classified into 4 different types: sociable introverts, thinking introverts, worried introverts, controlled introverts. I'm going to need to do some more research on that. I just grouped all introverts into one category. And for me, I saw it on a sliding scale: extreme introverts to sociable introverts. So I'd have to really look that up, and I guess I'll probably make a second video on it. But to answer the question, it says that 56.8% of the world's population are introverts, which is interesting because it sounds like we're the majority, and yet, like the whole point of this video, this world seems to be geared to favor extroverts. At the end of the day, being an introvert is normal, I guess, is what the point I want to kind of conclude with. The world we live in, I think the best way to say it, the world we live in rewards extroversion a lot more than it does introversion. And that being said, it can be difficult as an introvert living in an extroverted world, working in an extroverted environment, surrounded by people trying to convince you that the way you think, the way you do things is wrong and their way is better. So on that note, I think I'll conclude this video. There's so much more I could say and I want to say, but I think I would like to do more research and think about it more. Like a typical introvert. And there's a good friend of mine, actually. I'm going to see if maybe we can do a video together, because it's something way back in the day we would often talk about. I think he's more of an introvert than I am. It'd be interesting. I'm going to ask him to watch this video. Maybe we'll do a video together to see what his thoughts on the matter is. So stay tuned. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later.